Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. My name is Alviandana Nugraha. I'm from Mechanical Engineering International class, and I'm going to present my uh, subject that I took, which was photovoltaic panels. What exactly is photovoltaic panels? Photovoltaic or PV is something that people usually call solar panels. It is a systems that generate energy directly from sunlight using an electrical process that occurs naturally in certain materials known as semiconductors. The solar energy from the sunlight frees the electron in these materials, which can then be induced to travel through an electrical circuit, powering electrical devices or delivering electricity to the grid. Now, these PV devices can power almost anything from calculators, traffic signs to residents, and huge commercial businesses. Now, PV panels started in 1839 when a French physicist called Edmund Becquerel discovered the photovoltaic effect while experimenting with a cell made of metal electrodes in a conducting solution. He noted that the cell produced more electricity when it was exposed to light. Later, in 1873, Willoughby Smith discovered that selenium could function as a photoconductor. And 3 years later, in 1876, William Grills Adams and Richard Evans Day applied the photovoltaic principle discovered by Becquerel before to the selenium metal. They quoted that it could, in fact, generate electricity when exposed to light. And 50 years later, after the first photovoltaic effect discovery, in 1880, back in 1883, the American inventor Charles Fritz created the first working selenium solar cell. Though we use silicon in cells for modern solar panels, the solar cell was a major precursor to the technology used today. So before we used silicon panels today, the selenium was a huge stepping stone for um, solar panels back then. To measure the energy output from a solar panel, um, first the energy is expressed in watts. And on average, a domestic solar panel has a power output around 265 watts, although many types can range from 225 watts to above 350 watts. The higher the wattage of a solar panel, the more electricity it can produce under the same conditions, obviously. Um, to calculate how much electricity a solar panel can produce in a day, it's actually quite simple. You just have to multiply the wattage by the number of sunlight hours. Like here, I give an example of a home in Cambridge. They typically receive sunlight hours of 4 hours in a day, and if the house has a solar panel that has 280-watt solar panel, it will generate 120, 100, thousand, 1,120 watt hours or 1.1 kilowatt hours from the calculation of 280 watt times 4. So it's in watt hours. Um, Yeah, and then another example, if the exact same home has a panel that has 330-watt solar panel, then 330 times 4 is 1280 watt hours. Now, in modern solar panels, like I said before, mostly use crystalline silicon. And how does that actually work? How does the crystalline silicon solar panel produce electricity? So when the panels are exposed to sunlight, the photons strike and ionize the semiconductor material on the panel, and it causes the outer electrons to break free of their atomic bonds. Now, due to the semiconductor structure, the electrons are forced in one direction, creating a flow of electrical current. The solar cells in crystalline silicon panels are not 100% efficient. None of the panels are actually. Um, it is because the certain light within the spectrum, um, only a few can be absorbed. Like for example, um, the uh, infrared spectrum is too weak to create electricity, and the ultraviolet spectrum creates heat than rather than energy of electricity. And below, I gave the diagram of the crystalline silicon solar panel. This is the photon rack. Um, this is the crystalline semiconductor, which is mostly used silicon in modern panels. This is the anti-reflective coating. These are the conductors. Now, for installation, the most common location for PV panels in commercial houses, usually it is placed on the roof, obviously, because the roof is uh, exposed to the most sunlight. But if the roof is not suitable to it's not suitable for solar panel installation, it can also be installed on the ground. Just uh, we have to make sure that nothing blocks the sunlight. Otherwise, the panels won't be as effective as if it was on the roof. And that's it from me. I'm sorry if I made a few mistakes. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.